modified loading regulations to reduce double parking, and new narrow cross sections to reduce speeding while maintaining vehicle flow and emergency access. 9th Street is a high crash corridor. Between 2012 and 2016, 12 people were killed or seriously injured on 9th Street between 3rd Avenue and PPW. That's 13.6 people killed or severely injured per mile. That makes 9th Street the top third of Brooklyn corridors for traffic deaths and serious injuries. After that deadly crash in March of this year, DOT drew up and proposed this redesign, and we presented to a May town hall that was hosted by Councilman Brad Lander and Park Slope Street Safety Partnership. In June, Brooklyn's CB6 Transportation Committee approved the plan unanimously, and their executive committee of CB6, acting on behalf of the full board in their summer hiatus, also approved unanimously as well. This week, DOT crews are continuing their work on the pavement markers and the redesigns we just saw, and we hope to have this corridor completed by mid-September. With that, I will turn over to Borough President Eric Adams.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. And I really want to thank Brad Lander, the council person in the area who has continuously kept this issue and the loss of the life of Abigail and Joshua at the forefront and not allowing it to dissipate. Communities should not be defined by chalk marks of bodies that lay scattered after traffic crashes, but by traffic drawings like this that allow us to see the safe corridors and the safe passage and pedestrian islands and where buses should turn and move and where bicyclists should have a safe corridor to go to and from their place of commuting. And that is why the transformation of 9th Street, as was just mentioned, one of the deadliest corridors due to traffic crashes in our borough, this transformation today sends a strong message and a strong signal that communities must be safe. We must transform our thinking into how do we share our roadways, not only with vehicles, but with bicyclists, skateboarders, and those who are seniors who look for the extra moment during the time that the signals change, that they're able to cross the streets and move in a safe manner. Oftentimes we view the movement of traffic in the eyes of pedestrians who don't have any form of limitations at all, but in reality that is not true. We must share our streets in a safe passage with the countless number of people who are pushing baby carriages, walking with canes, moving slower because of some form of physical impairment, or just merely moving about their daily lives. What happened here to Abigail and Joshua should have been a wake-up call, but unfortunately it is not. We are not doing enough. We must do enough. Families for Safe Streets, Transportation Alternatives, and others have been sounding this alarm for far too long. The mere fact that we left the legislative session in Albany without a speed camera bill states that we are just not getting it. If we can't do the low-hanging fruits of ensuring we have speed cameras around our schools at school hours, then we're sending the wrong message. But today we're sending the right message, and I want to thank the commissioner, the mayor, and the entire team that has taken out the time and opportunity to draw the necessary lines. These simple lines, these simple, safe pedestrian walkways, these simple protected bike lanes, these simple movements, low-cost measures of saying that commuters and communities and residents and pedestrians matter. We don't want our legacy in this city to be that we're benchmarking our lives and our existence by ghost bikes attached to poles or by families holding up pictures of loved ones that was lost during traffic crashes. Great response from the city. Great response for our colleagues, and again I want to commend the councilman for this area who saw the need to bring the community in and hear how do we respond to this effectively and correctly. Thank you.
As Borough President Adams just said, a tireless champion of street safety in this community, Councilwoman Brad Lander.
Sadly, we can't bring Abigail Blumenstein and Joshua Liu back to their families, but we can make their memory into a blessing that saves future lives, makes our community safer for thousands of families, so that instead of only remembering with pain in our gut when we cross Fifth Avenue and 9th Street, when this is done, we will be able to remember them in a way that builds a community in which people are safer, in which families can cross together without fearing for their lives, in which cyclists can go up and down 9th Street in a way that isn't dangerous. And that is how we are making their memory into a blessing. And that is powerful and sad and transformative. And the model for it that has been set by Families for Safe Streets, and to have Amy and Jane and Dulcie here with us today reminds us that's the kind of transformation. We don't want for anyone, but when families can find the courage together and commute and push all of us in government and in communities to take the steps to make our neighborhoods safer, that's what we're called to. I've got a lot of partners in doing that, and I'm really grateful for it. It's great to have Keith, our neighbor, emceeing this presser, and he takes all these intersections and all these streets seriously. The borough president has been really a tremendous partner. We've gotten to ride together many times, and unfortunately stand together at too many sad pressers, but push together to make progress. DOT and the city have been a real partner. Deputy Mayor, it's great to be here with you. And you know, the mayor that week said we are going to get this done this year, and here we are seeing it done this year. It is great to have the city moving quickly, and I just want to thank all the workers at DOT who are helping make that happen. It is inexpensive, but that doesn't mean it's simple, and getting the work done. So we're grateful to the folks from DOT, the whole team here, who have worked together to make this happen. And I mentioned before the advocates who have just extraordinary and are transforming our city. A couple of quick final points. First, the borough president mentioned what a shanda it is. He didn't use the Yiddish, but what a shanda it is that we are here at this corner now 2 weeks before the start of school, and those speed cameras are off and not set to be back on before the first day that our kids will be going to school. So I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Like, I've given up on Leader Flanagan and his conference because they don't seem to value the lives of our kids more than their summer vacations. But Governor Cuomo has the power to call the state Senate back into session, and when they get there, if they don't want to vote to turn those cameras back on, he can't make them. But boy, if that happens, shame on them. So there's 2 weeks. Governor Cuomo, call the Senate back into session and make them sit in that room and either vote to turn those cameras back on or sit in that room and refuse to save the lives of our kids. We've got 2 weeks. You could do it every day until they vote to turn them back on. We also, as Keith mentioned, in the weeks after, Park Slope Street Safety Partnership and my office convened a meeting at which we talked about 9th Street, but also many other intersections in the neighborhood. And we will be launching soon a district-wide web portal where people can see the requests people have made and the progress toward intersection and streets improvements, you know, that we work together with DOT and NYPD on. And finally, in that same week, we made a pledge to the Blumenstein and Lou and Miles families, not only that we would fix 9th Street, which is now happening, but that we would get more serious about reckless driving, because that's another thing we learned that week in the most painful of ways. Before Dorothy Bruns killed Abigail and Joshua, she had been in a hit and run last fall. She had been told by her doctor she shouldn't be driving, and she had received 5 camera violations for speeding in school zones and running red lights. So we already knew that she was a reckless driver who was a risk to the lives of our kids and our families. And we asked in that week afterwards, how many other drivers are out there who have 5 camera violations in 1 year? And the answer is 26,000. Most drivers drivers, if they get a violation at one of those cameras, never get another one. 80% of drivers get one, and then they slow down, and that's why the cameras are so effective, because they get people to slow down in front of our schools. But a small number of people, less than 1%, are essentially sociopathic, reckless drivers. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just keep running red lights and speeding in our school zones. And we must do more to focus on that small percentage, but 26,000 is a large number of drivers out there who are putting our families, who are driving their cars like weapons aimed at their neighbors. And we are not going to let up on that. So just as we're getting 9th Street done today as part of our obligation to their families, we are going to continue until we have stronger policies to get the most reckless drivers off our streets, to boot or impound their cars and do what's necessary to get them off the streets until they change their behavior and stop driving in ways that kill our kids. So we are making something powerful happen here today, but it's just one piece of the obligation that we have, and we're not going to rest until we complete the job. Thank you.
I'd like to bring up Amy Cohen for Families for Safe Streets.
Hi. In October, it'll be 5 years. Many of you have been here for all the milestones, 5 years of birthdays, 5 years of Mother's Days, 5 years of middle school graduation, high school graduation, and now all his friends have left for college. Sammy knew how to draw lines. He knew how to walk carefully. If there was someone coming, he didn't necessarily speed down the street. He knew how to be accountable if he made a mistake. But somehow, our leaders at the city and state don't understand that rules that apply to children, that children can make for themselves, are rules that we need for a city. The paint that went down here today, the lines that we've drawn on the street, they shouldn't happen only after 2 toddlers die. And on this street, as you heard, there were 2 boys who died a few blocks away. My son died just a few blocks up the hill. They should be done on every single street. We're pushing for a bill that would make it a standard to have these changes. The Vision Zero Design Standard. There was a hearing on it last week, and we hope it will be introduced soon. It is a bill that is needed so that we don't have more children dying, and then we paint the street after they're dead. We need those changes now. It is unconscionable that the Senate adjourned and didn't put the speed cameras in front of schools. I have no idea what they have in their mind, and I cannot understand how they can sleep at night when someone dies. And as you heard, we have the Reckless Driver Accountability Act, because after the fact, it's too late for us. But we need to hold those drivers accountable and get them off the road before they do further harm, before they injure someone or kill someone. Because our city cannot wait any longer. We cannot continue to have someone be killed every 38 hours. And I'm here today with Jane, who just wants to tell you a little about her daughter.
Hi, good morning. I raised my children here in Park Slope. My daughter Leonora was struck and killed 5.5 years ago in Gravesend, Brooklyn. We just celebrated her birthday last week, but she wasn't here to celebrate with us. And so we also have seen all of Leonora's peers graduate and get married and have children. And I'm here with a picture. So we are doing everything here, as everyone has said, after the fact. We're waiting too long. This is not a new issue. It took a while for it to click. My great-grandfather was struck and killed by a reckless driver. My grandfather was struck and killed by a reckless driver. My conductor, Erwin Meyer of the Kings County American Legion Band, was struck and killed by a reckless driver. And my daughter. I'm not going to get over this. So for us, it's too late, but for everyone else, we need to take action and we need to stop waiting until after something happens. There was another incident right here on the same intersection where we were standing a moment ago that ran into a store on the corner. My other daughter was in the store at that time, and fortunately, she's fine. But this is something that puts all of our children at risk. It puts all of us at risk. It puts everyone in our community at risk. I am so thankful for all of our local politicians for standing up and for speaking out and doing the right thing and taking action. And I hope that our Senate will wake up and do the right thing as well. Thank you.
Now I'd like to bring up Dulcie Canton, who's a Brooklyn organizer for Transportation Alternatives.
Good morning, everyone. I'd first like to say thank you to Mayor Bill de Blasio, Deputy Mayor Anglin, the New York City DOT, Councilmember Lander, Borough President Eric Adams. 6 months ago, we're at the site of a tragic death that didn't have to happen. Joshua and Abigail were hit by a speeding driver. I myself was also in a hit-and-run crash in 2014 in Bushwick. The improvements made here, it's a great start. You know, protected bike lanes not only help cyclists, but they help pedestrians, everyone overall. But I'd also like to say, in addition to bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, we also need the school speed safety cams. Yesterday morning, I was out in Brownsville, New York with Councilmember Samuel, and we were speed gunning at the intersection of Howard and East New York Ave, and it's just really hectic. You know, the entire city deserves the changes that happened to 9th Street, and hopefully we'll get there. And also, thank you to Amy Cohen and all the members of Families for Safe Street for their support. You know, I found my calling in life, and I hope to see more of this work. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we will take any questions you may have about.
Two design questions, but the one thing is the bike lane looks narrower than other bike lanes, connected bike lanes. Also about the loading zone changes.
Yeah, this is sort of a newer design where we have a parking protected bike lane on two-way streets. So for 9th Street, the bike lane is 4 feet instead of the typical 5, and that's to give more space in the roadway for emergency vehicles and other traffic. So it's a different design. Did I miss anything? Okay.
You're saying just the barrier. What about the lane itself? Is that the same?
The lane, the bike lane?
Yeah.
The bike lane is 4 feet on 9th Street, whereas the standard is 5 feet.
And then the loading zone, but
yeah, we're adding some loading zones along the street. In fact, they may be here now. They should be here now. So we can give you the exact locations, and that's to help stop double parking, so that the traffic flow can go along 9th Street. Yes.
At the community board meeting, there were many residents who addressed concerns about trucks traveling this route constantly without starting up route. How will DOT address that? Second, when will a plan be released for 3rd Avenue?
Okay, so we're looking at the truck. Yeah, we heard that at the community board. We're looking at options for trucks that come down 9th Street. We did hear that concern, so we're looking at studying that now, and we'll hopefully have something to present to the board, or at least to let them know probably in the months ahead. And then on the other side of 3rd Avenue, we're not sure what we're going to do. We're going to do anything going down a second to the
right, yeah. We're looking at that for.
All right, so we're looking at that for a future project. Any other questions?
Question from Deputy Mayor. You know, it's ironic, right behind us is a double park. It's an illegally parked UPS truck, bike, and a bus lane. As you know, the city is considering changes to the stipulated fine program, which allows companies like that to pay a reduced fee, in some cases not for this one, but zero in the outer boroughs. I know you're involved in changing that. How do we think that that's going to go well? I know the industry's pushing back.
So we are.
Maybe we could do this.
Yeah.
I'm happy to. I'll have to. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's. Otherwise, I think we're done. Yeah, we're done. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Keith.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Scott. Brad comes.
You don't like it, thank you.
The rest of me, it was a council member.
Okay.